Hi everyone, Flash here. Thanks for checking out my video. A few friends recently have asked me, what's your race day shoe? What do you use for race day? Not for training, but for the big day. And I'm fortunate enough and privileged enough to be able to afford kind of higher end stuff. And I like how good shoes feel on my feet. So I've been trying out the last couple of years the top of the line stuff. Saucony Endorphin Pro 3. These are the usual suspects. Asics MetaSpeedSky, the Nike AlphaFly, and the VaporFly Next Percent, and the New Balance Fuel Cell RC Elite V2, and they just came out with the V3. Here's my take. Hopefully this will help complement the perspectives of other reviewers and give you a little bit more information from someone who has not a particularly narrow or wide foot, pretty much a normal foot, older triathlete, but still have the engine still runs, and I still do pretty well in terms of rankings. So I do run quite a bit in terms of kilometers. So not an ultra marathoner, but like a good shoe, like a good fitting shoe, and so here it is. I just recently made the big commitment to get the AlphaFly, the second version, V2s, I guess, of the AlphaFlies. And happy I did, love them. The Run Testers, a YouTube review gang from the UK who I love, convinced me to give them a try. And I'm glad I did. So I'm going to tell you my take basically on the top of the line shoes. I just returned the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s in my regular size because the toe box was too narrow for me, and especially on my small toe, my pinky toe, it was really quite tight. I had to go half size up, so I'm going to be grabbing the 10s as opposed to US 9.5s. Rarely ever do that. I did find for the Asics MetaSpeedSkys the same thing. I had a little bit too tight a toe box. Now, this is so difficult to generalize, of course. I know the Run Testers, I think, believe that they're true to size for their foot. We all have different shaped feet. Some have particularly narrow ones, have to cinch down and have long feet. And if they go for a larger, half size or a size up, then it's way too wide, and vice versa happens as well. In my case, I think I've got a bit of a normal foot, so hopefully that helps you. The difference between the V1 and the V2, I won't go into any great detail for the AlphaFly, but suffice it to say that it is just so a couple of details to compare it to the VaporFly. This is the first generation. I just sold my second generation VaporFlies. They were used, but they still had a few miles on them, and I was able to get a good price for them used. I couldn't believe I would actually be able to sell a used running shoe, but it's surprisingly for the top of the line stuff, people who want to try it out for a bit, still have 100, 200 kilometers maybe in the shoe, will pay for a used shoe. So I was able to sell my second generation VaporFlies. The first generation, just take a look at the VaporFly versus the AlphaFly. Super wide platform on the AlphaFly, narrower on the Vapor. I'm a midfoot to forefoot striker. They both have the carbon plate, and you can tell the carbon plate here, obviously, in the AlphaFly, which does give you that rocker speed or feeling, right? When especially if you're a midfoot, but even heel strikers will get that nice effect. But as a midfoot to forefoot, I can certainly feel the energy return that I get from the carbon plates on all the top of the line shoes, all of them without exception. The AlphaFly, I thought, for the first generation, was too bulky, felt too weird. Needless to say, I mean, anyone will tell you it still feels odd as a running shoe. To the point where you try them out in the store and you think, I don't think I'm going to like this. And you have to give it a good old college try and give it a shot, because I think they made significant tweaks to the version 2. And I find comparatively, it was able to go for it. The first one just felt too weird. And I'd heard weird noises coming out of the Zoom AirPods. They've made some changes, and it's a bit less noisy than the first version, I think. You still hear someone behind you, hopefully not passing you too often, but who's wearing a set of these. You go, oh, he's probably wearing AlphaFlies. If you take a look, it's almost transparent, so that engineered mesh upper is really something. One thing I want to say, it's really tough to get your foot in. You've got to basically grab both of the hooks and kind of torque it open to get your foot in there. Yes, it literally is that bad. So that may dissuade you a little bit if you're a triathlete in transition and you struggle. The elastic laces won't help you in this case. It's really a bit of a challenge to get it on. I mean, it doesn't take you 30 seconds, a minute, or 2 minutes, but it is tricky. Once your foot is in, the snug feeling, it's not tight. It's just a really, for me anyhow, for a normal width foot, it really does cinch you. I did a review recently of the New Balance what's it called, Fresh Form X More V4. It was just too wide for me everywhere, in the upper and the toe box. This is a really snug fitting shoe, not too tight, however. So why did I go for the Alphas and not another set of VaporFlies? It was time to give it a try. I had an old pair of VaporFlies. They're going to be different feels. I can't afford to get a new set of everything. How does this one compare to the MetaSpeedSky? I did not get the new version of that. The Endorphin Pro 3, like I said, I went from a 9.5 and just ordered the 10. It is a lighter shoe. It feels lighter. It feels more like a normal running shoe compared to how this, with the pods and the engineering of this shoe, it feels different. So they're both probably top of the line, but they just feel different. And ultimately, I think for me, the fresh foam of the New Balance SC Elite, it used to be called RC Elite, SC Elite V3s that just came out, I think for me are probably the most comfortable. So I'm trying to find that balance between that cushioning, which protects you, is comfortable, and the race day performance of something that has maybe a bit more of a rigid foam, the toe off of the carbon plate, energy return, trying to find that sweet spot. Now we're all different, so we're all going to interpret the feel of a shoe obviously differently. So for me, I think I'm starting to land, if I look at the MetaSpeedSky from Asics, which I find a little tight, a little rigid. The Endorphin Pro 3, top of the line, love it, very light, love it. The AlphaFly from Nike, I find a lot of shoe, but surprisingly, I can't hate it because you do feel like it's protecting you and keeping you on pace. So it's a lot of shoe, needless to say, but I think it's up there still. So I've kind of set aside the MetaSpeedSky because of the rigidity a little bit. The Endorphin Pro 3, very light, love it. The Nike AlphaFly, love it. And I think ultimately my extra cushioning I get from the fresh foam of the New Balance SC Elite V3, old RC Elite V2s, I think is that middle ground. So the difference between the RC Elite V2, which is this one here, and the SC Elite V3s is significant. They kept the fresh foam cushioning, they kept the carbon plate, and I think they just bumped up their game a little bit so that they compete with the AlphaFlies, the MetaSpeedSkys, the Endorphin Pro 3s, and so on and so forth. So I think New Balance has finally got in their top line, SC Elite V3, got a shoe that can now compete with the big boys. So I hope this is helpful for you. For me, I chose, if I was to pick tomorrow morning my shoe of the year for 2023, it would probably be the SC Elite V3 from New Balance. Because the RC Elite V2 from New Balance is now one generation older, you can probably get it on sale. And it can work as a tempo shoe. It could work for a daily training shoe. Okay, yes, it has a carbon plate, but it could work as a training shoe, a tempo shoe, and even your marathon shoe. So your race day shoe. And the 3 even bumped it up another notch. Hope this is helpful. That's my perspective. Love the New Balance. Take care.